Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are off to a good start to your day. And time for the final video in this little series that I've done throughout the year. Basically, whenever we started to get a good idea of where one of our top 4 picks would land, I made a video about that pick and outlined some guys that I would like to initially target at those selections. Like, it became clear that Denver's pick was going to be a top 10 pick. So I looked at some guys in the top 10 that made sense who were not quarterbacks. Because again, the point of this series was let's talk about the guys who aren't quarterbacks. We've spent enough time talking about quarterbacks in other videos. Let's look at other positions, especially now that Geno's playing so well. So this video is going to be about the Seahawks native second round pick. The pick that we have from our own record in the second round. We've already looked at our pick in the first round, Denver's pick in the second round, and like I said, way back in the middle of the season, I looked at Denver's first rounder. So now, this is going to be our second round pick, which, based off what happens this upcoming weekend, is going to fall anywhere from 44 to 54. 44 is kind of realistically the highest it could go if we lose and some other teams win. 54 would be like we make the playoffs and then win a game. It's really unlikely we go further than that, so I'm not even going to talk about the pick lower than that. But 44 to 54 is roughly where that pick is going to be. We'll see exactly where it is probably in a week or a couple weeks. So I'm just going to talk about guys who right now look like they're going to go in that range. Guys who are currently projected to be hot commodities in that 44 to 54 range. So this is going to be a quick analysis. I'm not going to go super deep on any of these players. That's going to be something I do in the off season. Probably after free agency, by the way. Because we're not really going to know who we covet really hard in the draft until after free agency is done. So that is going to be saved for later. But for now, I just want to briefly talk about the player, and I want to briefly talk about why he might make some sense for the Seahawks. And once you get down to the mid-second round area, there aren't that many positions that should be off limits anymore. Like for the Seahawks, I would say you don't want to take a tackle, you don't want to take a tight end, and you don't really want to take a cornerback because of what Carroll can do with cornerbacks. But other than that, go for it. I mean, of course, you don't want to take a kicker, punter, long snapper, positions like that. But pretty much any position, major position other than the 3 I listed, we got to at least have the conversation. So here are some guys. I'm going to start with Andre Carter II of Army. He's an edge player, although, and this is where I wonder what he's going to do in the NFL. He's big. 6'7", listed at, I believe, 265. Is he going to lose weight so he can play in a 3-4 as an outside linebacker? Or does he add a little weight and become a deep down lineman? Or is he only going to be able to play in a 4-3 where he can be like 5-tech? I don't know. And look, whatever it is, we might be able to work with it because I don't know what defense we're going to run next year. We might go back to the old stuff. That's possible. But Andre Carter II is heavier than your average outside linebacker in a 3-4. He's going to be 23 years old when he suits up in the NFL for the first time. He's had 2 notable seasons at Army. The problem with him is it was Army. Now, he did have a monster 2021, 41 tackles, 17 for loss, 14.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. He was a big-time playmaker, but he wasn't playing any good teams. It's Army. And then in 2022, he took a huge step back, only 3.5 sacks. Really, really fell off. At one point, he was looked at as maybe a first-round pick. Now he's a middle second-round guy, roughly guesstimating. The other guy I would take a look at who's in the front 7 here would be Drew Sanders, Arkansas linebacker. He's generally considered to be the best linebacker in the draft after the top guys, which is Trenton Simpson, Sewell, who I don't like very much, and Henry To'o. Drew Sanders is starting to get hype as the next big linebacker. 6'5", 230 pounds. 230 pounds seems light, but it's very possible that that's just going to become the new normal for linebackers in the NFL. 225, 230, maybe 235. Once you get up to like 240, you're just too slow. He'll be 22 when he suits up in the NFL. He's really only had one big year in the NFL before 2022. I'm sorry, one big year in the NCAA. Before 2022, he was a very, very low-tier player, lucky to get drafted. And then 2022, he had over 100 tackles, including 9.5 sacks, 5 passes defensed, and 3 forced fumbles, 13.5 total tackles for loss, and he became a mid-second round guy. Current rank in the average big board is 46th overall. So, admittedly, I don't like him anywhere near as much as Simpson or To'o, but if you're looking for a linebacker in this area and those two guys are gone, Drew Sanders is probably the best of the bunch. I would put it like that. Okay, next guy is John Michael Schmitz, and this is a guy who I think is going to be the person that Seahawks fans in general really unite behind, as we need to get that guy. And it's very easy to guess why. He's a center. He's now considered to be the best center in the draft. Before the season started, he was like 3rd or 4th. He was not considered to be the best center, but he's played so well this year, and some of the other centers have maybe disappointed a little bit. John Michael Schmitz is now getting hype as the best center in this draft, and we need a center in the worst way. I don't think we have any centers under contract next year. Austin Blythe was on a 1-year deal, so was Kyle Fuller. Now, Schmitz is a little bit bigger than you might like from a center, but I think he can move fairly well. 6'4", 320 pounds, has a ton of college experience. He's already going to be 24 when he plays in the NFL for the first time, but I'm not that worried about that. It's a center. Centers play until they're 40 sometimes these days, it seems like. He's a guy who's projected to go in the middle of the second round. He's going to go in that range that the, 8 and 8, or 8 and 9, 7 and 10 teams will pick, 9 and 8 teams, which is where Seattle's likely to fall at this point. So John Michael Schmitz is a guy who I think is going to get a lot of energy in the draft from Seahawks fans. I think that there are going to be other centers that are maybe a slightly better fit, but John Michael Schmitz, as of right now, is probably the best center. Next guy I want to look at real quick here is Zay Flowers of Boston College, a wide receiver. Now, he's a little bit on the smaller side, but he's got 3 years of really good college experience, catching passes mostly from Phil Jurkovec, who was a quarterback who I was interested in at one point, but it never took off this year. He's somebody who actually gets the ball out of the backfield sometimes on like fly sweeps and jet sweeps. Over his 4 years in college, I think he was actually involved on something like close to 50 rushes, and obviously there are going to be some jet sweeps, fly sweeps, Debo stuff in there. Now, he's smaller than Debo. You don't want to use him like Debo, but Zay Flowers is definitely somebody who could be utilized in this offense. You look at his frame and you go, maybe that could be a Tyler Lockett type guy, and you can see 3 years of really good production. 900 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2020, 2021, he took a little bit of a step back, 44 catches, 750 yards, but 2022, he put himself on the map with almost 80 catches, 1,100 yards, and 12 touchdowns. And I know some people are more interested in like a big body at receiver for the Seahawks to complement like Metcalf, somebody who can go up and get the ball. But if you're looking at this as like, okay, Lockett's getting older, we need to look for Lockett insurance, Zay Flowers could be a guy who you look at and go, that guy could replace Tyler Lockett. And obviously Lockett's not going anywhere, but it's coming. Okay, next guy I'm going to take a look at here is a tackle guard from North Dakota State. Obviously, for our purposes, we would look at him as a guard, probably a left guard, which, I'm sorry, excuse me, well, I would say both sides, honestly. I don't know what side he's going to play in the NFL. Not sure yet because he does play tackle in college. In the NFL, I do think he'll make a better guard, and he'll be one of the best guards available in this range of the draft, the mid-second. 6'6", 303 pounds, he'll be 24 years old. He had actually been in college for several years and wasn't really notable at all before 2022. He had a monster breakout year for North Dakota State in 2022 and put himself on the map like that. Now he's considered a late-ish second-round pick, mid to late. And I like the versatility he might offer because in the NFL he probably will be able to play a little bit of tackle. but I do think he'll make a better guard. I don't know if he would be better at left versus right yet because we haven't really seen him do it. We'll have to really dive deep in on this guy. But Cody Mauch, I'll learn how to pronounce it if we draft him, I guess, is what I'm going to say about that. But intriguing prospect from North Dakota State. And I've got my eye on him. I don't think we need to spend a high pick on a guard, but we could, and this would be a guy I target. Next guy would be a running back. This is one of my favorite running backs in the draft. I got to see him play a lot because he played for UCLA, Zach Charbonnet. Really productive 2 years, last 2 years with Chip Kelly. 6'1", 220 pounds, 22 years old, runs with power, runs with force. You look at him, you look at Ken Walker, you look at what DJ Dallas did for us in that Jets game, and you go, Charbonnet could do the DJ Dallas stuff, but better. He's got more power. You saw how DJ Dallas was like the hammer. And, Walker was the, I don't know, lightning bolt. And Charbonnet could be like that, but better. And you can see the last 2 years, he's had about 200 rushes each. This most recent year was averaging well over 6 yards a carry. He's got 27 touchdowns combined over the 2 years. Not a big-time receiver, but he's got about 60 catches over the last 2 years. So a little bit of that stuff as well. So yeah, Zach Charbonnet is going to be one of my favorite running backs in this draft, I think. And of all the running backs in this draft, if you could get Charbonnet with our second round pick, maybe if you're lucky, even a third round pick. I seriously doubt that. But if you could get Charbonnet with your pick, I don't even mind reaching for him just a little bit and getting him in the 50s. So yeah, Charbonnet would be a running back that I target if that's the direction you decide to go. This is the part of the draft where a running back might make sense. Last guy I'm going to look at, mostly because I know Seahawks fans love him, and I do. He's a great player. I just don't know if he's right for us, but it's J.L. Skinner of Boise State. He's a safety. Classic Cam Chancellor type of safety. 6'4", 218 pounds. Relatively young still. He'll be 22 years old when he first suits up in the NFL. Had 2 really nice seasons for Boise State. 2021, 92 tackles, 7 for loss, 2 picks, 3 passes defensed. This most recent year, his tackles were down, but his interceptions went up. He had 4 picks. So definite ball hawk skills there. Now, the drop-off in his tackles and his plays made in the backfield did drop his draft stock to the early 3rd, according to most sites at the moment. But I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up going in the 2nd round, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Seahawks are at least considering it at their 2nd round pick. My issue with J.L. Skinner is just that, does he fit this new defense? Cam Chancellor fit the Carroll defense. Cam Chancellor would not fit great in this defense because it requires maximum versatility from your safeties. So J.L. Skinner, I don't know if he has the versatility to be a deep safety. I don't know if he has the versatility that Vic Fangio defenses typically desire. So it kind of depends on what we're doing on defense next year. But as a player, absolutely. J.L. Skinner is, just in a vacuum, I would not mind spending our 2nd round pick on J.L. Skinner. I just need to know what kind of defense we're going to put him in. And that's it for my top targets. There are going to be other guys. There are definitely going to be other guys. There are going to be guys that come out of nowhere and end up being graded in this area of the draft. We're going to learn a lot in free agency. Some of these guys are maybe going to be eliminated from the list because of what we do in free agency. Like, let's say we go sign Mitch Morse in free agency. Then I don't really want John Michael Schmitz. That seems like a waste of a pick. Or what if we go out and get a receiver in free agency, like even somebody like Zach Pascal, somebody who's not great but reasonably productive? Then Zay Flowers becomes less interesting. But these are some names that jump out to me at the moment. And I'm not going to continue this series on into the 3rd round, but I wanted to take a look at what we could do with our top 4 picks, because those top 4 picks, those are the picks that everyone's really getting hyped about. Those are the picks that are getting people excited. And I just wanted to run down some names that make sense to me if we don't use a quarterback. And by the way, even if we draft a quarterback with one of those picks, we're still going to have the 3 other picks. So we got to have this conversation either way. All right. Thanks for checking it out. Hope you liked this series. A lot more stuff coming on the draft when the time is right, believe me. We got to get through this free agency first. Honestly, we have to get through this season first, and then free agency. But there's going to be a lot to talk about. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Hope you enjoyed.